All right, so this is just the differences in the requirements, right? So in order to be in the House of Representatives, you got to be 25, have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years. You serve for 2 terms. That is now out of date, so I need to update my table there. It is 1 to 52, depending upon state. The largest state is California. They have 52 representatives. Every state has to have one. That would include like Wyoming, which nobody lives in Wyoming. Right? No disrespect to Wyoming, but like 500,000 people live in that entire state. Yeah. All right. The Senate, got to be 30 years old to be in the Senate. You got to be a citizen for at least 9 years. They serve 6-year terms. There are 2 per state. I do want to at least call your attention real quickly. I don't test you on this, but I want to make sure you have an idea of the way this works anyways. So, every 2 years we know we have congressional elections, yes? Hopefully you know that, right? So in 2020, we elected a president, that was Joe Biden, right? We also held elections for 435 members of the House of Representatives, that's every member of the House of Representatives, and 1/3 of the Senate, right? Because the Senate is on 6-year terms. In 2022, that's what we call a midterm election. There's no presidential election, right? But because our representatives are every 2 years, all 435 are still up for re-election, and now a different 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election. The way this works, right, and I can't remember the little song from elementary school, right? We're going to go like Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Arizona, I don't remember, California, Connecticut, I probably skipped Colorado, I don't know, right? Delaware, yes, whatever, I don't care. Right? First of all, I'm not listing them all out. Secondly, this is not accurate, okay? It is not accurate. I only want to show this to you as a representation of the way this plays out. Okay, stop talking over top of me. Okay, so in 2020, right, we had a presidential election. Okay, this third of the U.S. Senate was up for re-election. 2022, this third of the U.S. Senate was up for re-election. 2024, this third of the U.S. Senate is up for re-election. Then in 2026, we'll go back to this group, right? 2028, 2030, on down. Okay? What this means is that at no point in time should 2 senators from the same state be up for re-election at the same time. Okay? Now, I don't expect that you know this because you probably did not pay close enough attention. However, had you paid close enough attention, in 2020, both Senate seats for the state of Georgia were up for election. Okay? One of those was up for election because it was a special election. That person served for 2 years and then had to be re-elected in 2022. Okay? I think. Yes. All right? Okay. So this is designed this way for a handful of reasons, and we'll go through that as we talk about it. Right? Your members, when they go to Congress, they represent you. There's a handful of ways that they can do that. Not all of them are equal. Some of them are better than others. Okay? And so we have words that we associate with representation. The first is going to be the delegate model. If I delegate something to you, what does that mean? Do y'all not do like SAT vocab in English classes? How did you pass the SAT test? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Nice. Abacadabra. Have y'all ever done that one?
No.
A-B-B-A, abacadabra. No? Okay. No. That's how you, no? Alright, whatever. Alright, so we don't, y'all, this is so sad. Now I'm terrified. Now I'm legitimately terrified. I be using words all the time that y'all have no idea what they mean, and y'all don't say nothing. If I delegate something, what does that mean?
To give it, like pass it down to other people.
To provide somebody else the authority to do it. Right? You generally delegate responsibility. Right? So, just to give you an actual example, Mr. Forshee is required by state law to go to every class and or to go to classes every semester and register students to vote. Did he do that? No. Who did it? I did. Because he delegated that to me. That's the actual verb to delegate. That's the word. Okay? So a delegate would be what? No. Well, it's a person who is doing something for you now. Right? Because now it's a noun, right? So to delegate would be the action, that'd be the verb, right? And providing somebody else the authority. The delegate then would be the person who is enacting or who's engaging, who's carrying out that authority for you. Yeah? Yes, in this scenario it would be me. Yes. Right? So here's the thing. Okay? We live in a democracy, right? But do we?
Not really.
Yeah. Okay. It's way more. It's not wildly complex, but it's more complex than most Americans think it is. Yes. It is. I think we talked about this at the very beginning. It is not fathomable. It's not feasible, right? It's not possible for let's just say 230 million Americans, right? Because that's probably the number of Americans that are of voting age. For 230 million Americans to vote on everything, because that's what real democracy is, right? Real democracy is what we saw. Today's what, Thursday? 2 nights ago in Ohio. Right? Anybody know what happened in Ohio 2 nights ago? The people voted on whether or not they wanted to allow abortion. People voted. They decided for themselves that you can abort a baby in Ohio up until 23 weeks. And after 23 weeks of gestation, you can no longer abort a child in Ohio. The people voted for that law. That is democracy. Okay? Now again, it's not practical to have democracy for 230 million people. Okay? We can't vote about everything. So we send people to Washington, D.C. to do it for us. If they are doing what we want them to do, they are our delegate. Meaning we have given them the responsibility, go and vote for me. Right? Now, if you identify as liberal, is Ted Cruz voting for you? No. No, he is not. Okay? But we still call that the delegate model. Okay? Because the majority of the people in Texas voted for Ted Cruz. And therefore, if he is doing what the majority of the people in Texas want, he is operating as a delegate. Now, the second one here is called the trustee model. Okay? And the correlation you need to make is trust me, right? So you guys would have been, I lose track of time, freshmen. When you were freshmen, what time did school get out? 3. It was 3:30. It should have been 3:30, right? And then your sophomore year, it went back to 3:40, right? And now this year it's 3:50 because we start 10 minutes later. Okay, so here's the deal. So 3 years ago, when they voted on whether or not to add 10 minutes to the school day, right? Y'all know they added 10 minutes to the school day so you can get out a week earlier, yes? Did you know that? Okay, so here's what the trustee model is. The trustee model is a representative telling you, look, trust me, okay? Trust me. I know more than you do, right? Because here's the thing. If I had been allowed to vote then, I didn't get a vote, right? I'm not really important on the school board, right? So I didn't get to vote. Had I been able to vote, okay, I would not, right? I would not have decreased, right? I would not have changed. In fact, I would not have changed the school day from 3:30 to 3:40, right? In order for you all to get out a week earlier, I would have actually changed the school day from 3:30 to 3:50, okay? And I would not have let you out a week early, okay? Y'all a fan of that? Why not? Because you know what my plan would have gotten you? Every Friday off. school would have been Monday through Thursday.
Run for president, go.
See, hold on, see, here's the thing, because like, I told you what I was gonna do, and all of you were like, I don't like that, that's not good, right? And what y'all probably don't know, you know that you are required to be in school X number of minutes, yes? Did you know that? So in the state of Texas, they don't do school by the number of days, they don't care how many days you go to school, they care how many minutes you go to school, okay? So if the school day was 10 hours long, man, we could be done fast, couldn't we? Alright, now I don't think any of us want to do 10 hours a day. Like, I don't want to do that. Right? But if I would have started us a week earlier, right, we were still off. We're still out of here by like Memorial Day. You understand that, right? Like we wasn't going into June. Some schools, some states, they go to school until like late June. Right? Like, we ain't doing that. Right? But we could have had a 4-day school week. Now the reality is none of you probably knew that that was even an option. Okay, we're up to, the last I looked, there's like 6 or 7 different school districts now in the state of Texas that are 4-day districts. Okay, it's actually becoming a thing in some places. Okay, but that's the trustee model. Okay, the trustee model is basically a representative telling you, listen, I know better than you because I am better informed than you are. And you understand our congressmen are better informed than you, yes? Like, it's their job to be informed. They sit in meetings in which they get informed about a wide variety of things. Okay? The political model is really a combination of the two, right? Where sometimes they will operate as a delegate, sometimes they will operate as a trustee. I will be honest with you, I miss my old representative when I lived in North Carolina. That dude used to email regularly and be like, how do you feel about this issue? Right? Like, here's a piece of legislation coming up. How would you like me to vote? Right? Troy Nels don't do that. He's never asked my opinion. Don't snicker. He should be asking my opinion. He should be asking all of our opinions. He works for me, not the other way around. So he should care about what I want. I care about what Mr. Forsey wants. I work for him. Troy Nels works for me. He ought to care about what I want. Okay, substantive versus descriptive representation. We've talked about representation a little bit already, right? So descriptive representation is really demographic-based representation, right? You are black, you have a representative that is black, that is descriptive representation, right? And I think was this class we had a conversation with before? Like if everything else was equal, like go ahead and vote for the person that has the same lived experiences as you, because they're going to understand you better, right? But I'm going to be honest with you, that's if everything else is equal. It never will be, right? It just won't. But if everything else were equal, right? Substantive representation, right? They are, or should be held accountable by us. I say should be, right? Anybody know what the re-election rate of Congress is? Hold on real quick. Baker. Yep, gotcha. Bye. You already knew, huh? Alright. So, the listen to me, the re-election rate in Congress, okay, if you run for office again, you get re-elected at over a 90% rate. Okay? That is a lack of accountability. Okay? But it should not be that way. There should be substantial accountability. However, there is not. Okay? The composition of the actual Congress. Okay, actually, if we were to do this, let's stereotype. I like stereotyping. Right? I want 7 characteristics. Right? Everybody close your eyes real quick. I want you to imagine a congressperson. Right? And now I want you to tell me what you're looking at. Okay, so I got white male. Alright, yeah. What? Old. I got old white male.
A beer belly.
Okay, stop looking at Chris Christie. Okay, tell me. Alright, so we've got old white male, right? Let's get out of like physical descriptors now. Okay? Right? Give me some other descriptors, other ways that we can describe.
Like cranky.
Demographics.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not personality.
Like the what?
Who just said it?
Oh man.
Rich. Rich.
Okay. Oh.
They all rich.
Straight. Highly educated.
What?
Straight.
Yes. I mean, for the most part, they are. That is actually not one I've ever put in there before, but we can do it. Who said
Highly educated.
highly educated? Right? In fact, do we know what degree they all have?
Full of themselves.
Again, probably accurate, but not a demographic descriptor.
What's the highest one? A guy. Master?
Well, so
That's what I thought. A male. A male.
okay, no. I'm I don't whistle at anybody in general. That is my shh whistle. Instead of shh in you all the time, I do that little whistle. And anybody know what? Y'all know Joe Biden went to college, yes? I mean, he ain't never had a job other than government. But what did he go to school for? What?
Law.
Law. Right? They all have Juris Doctorates. Again, if we're stereotyping, they all got law degrees. Okay, what else? What about religion?
Christian.
Pretty much all Protestant, yes? Right? Alright, so for the most part, we can stereotype as to what our average congressman is. Now, on the bright side, and look, I mean, this, just so you know, like, we're looking here, right? So 1975, you know, you're talking like 20 women, 20 African Americans, somewhere in the teens for other minority groups. So, sorry, somewhere in the single digits for other minority groups. Right? 2019, we've at least got a fair number of women now. Right, in terms of representation. But you understand, like as far as demographics go, yes? We know that I don't know what the numbers are, I haven't looked the numbers up. I'm gonna use nice round numbers to try to make things even, right? White people are 65% of the US population, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they should have, if we've got demographic representation, right, if we have descriptive representation, 65% of Congress should be white, yes?
Yeah.
You understand? Okay, so just understand, because white people are obviously a majority of the United States, right? We're not ever going to have a situation in which there are an equal number of like whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, Pacific Islanders. I mean, depending on how you want to like really break things down, you can get into like significant sub demographics of things. All right. So members of Congress spend significant amount of time working in order to do a number of things, right? So again, theoretically, they should be speaking for their constituents' views. They should be serving their constituents' interests. Okay? I don't know that they do that. A lot of them in this day and age spend a significant amount of time trying to increase their own profile, right? That would be an opportunity to make themselves look better, especially if they have political ambitions beyond their current job, like they want to run for president of the United States someday, right? Troy Nehls is a local, I mean, he works in DC, but he's local. You understand that, right? Okay. Do I have an expectation that you know who both your senators are? Yes, no, I do. I expect you to know who both your senators are. Right? I don't know. At some point in time, I may just test you on it. No, that's how high my expectation is, that you know, right? Now here's the thing, I would not try to mess with you and put like Rafael Cruz down. That's Ted's real first name. That's his real name is Rafael. Okay? I wouldn't try to trick you in that regard, but I want you to understand. Do I have any expectation that you know who the representative is for the Texas 3rd District? Okay, listen to me. I don't even know where the Texas 3rd District is. Okay, it's not here. You're in the 22nd district. Okay, do I expect you know who your 22nd district representative is? Yes. Okay, next, as a part of working for constituents, congressmen engage in casework. Okay, I promise you this will be on the test. You need to understand this concept. Casework is favors. Who in here has a passport? How long did it take you to get it? 6 weeks? About a month? Okay, you say still waiting. How long ago did you send it in? Like a month ago? So as a general rule, 1 to 2 months is about how long it takes to get a passport, right? Okay, Troy Nels can get you a passport in like 12 hours. Okay, that's a favor. Okay, that's casework. Casework is doing things for constituents, right? So it is spending time on constituent needs, right? So if you are, let's say you were a disabled veteran and you were having problems with the VA, Congress can help you get what you need, okay? Your congressman can do that. Now the reality is your congressman himself doesn't do that. His staff does it for him, okay? But here's the thing, when it comes time to re-elect Troy Nels, if Troy Nels helped you get your passport because you found out today that you got an Oxford scholarship, right? And so you could go to Oxford at Thanksgiving. You know where Oxford is? England. It's like it's like the Harvard of the world, right? An incredibly prestigious school. If you had an opportunity to go study there over Thanksgiving break, would you take it? Of course you would, right? Because you could put that on any college application and you're almost guaranteed admittance to that college, okay? But if you didn't have a passport, could Troy Nels help you get one between now and Thanksgiving? Yes. When it comes time to re-elect Troy Nels, are you going to vote for him? Yes. If he helped you, yes. Not only that, what are you going to tell your buddy? Oh, hey, he's actually one of the good ones, man. He out there helping me like he's doing his job. It's the rest of them fools in D.C. that suck. Who in here, anybody in here actually watched the lectures that I recorded? Can you hear all the background noise on it? Something. Okay. I mean, I don't have like the equipment to blend out background noise, so.
Oh, I have one. Oh my god.
I don't need a microphone.
No.
It's not an issue of my voice. My voice carries. The issue is 28 other little voices all whispering at the same time. Okay? Alright, in order to get elected, okay, into Congress, there's a couple of things that have to happen. One, you have to have some sort of you have to have electability, right? One of the reasons why Ted Cruz is occasionally, what's the word I'm looking for? At risk of not getting reelected is because everybody hates Ted Cruz, right? What? Because Ted Cruz is just not a very nice person by most accounts, okay? Hey, listen, just to put it into perspective, Lindsey Graham, who was a Republican senator, once said that if you shot Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate and held the trial in the Senate, you would not be convicted. What that means is that all the other Republicans hate him so much, they could watch you murder him and then be like, nope, you didn't do it. You're good. Okay? But electability is an issue. Well, look, here's the thing. Politics aside, like whether you agree with his opinions or not, politics aside, the reality is Ted Cruz probably comes off as like smarmy. And I really can't think of like a better descriptive word than that. So electability matters. Incumbency. If you were already in, dude, here's the thing. There's like 8 different incumbency advantages, right? One, there's the franking privilege. Not that that matters much anymore, but politicians, not politicians. Congressmen are allowed to mail things to your house for free. They ain't got to pay to mail, right? So what that means is they can mail things to your house being like, hey, I just did this for you, vote for my reelection. And so long as they're essentially telling you what they've done for you and informing you about things, they can put like little stuff on there to try to get you to like support them. And that means that you have a better idea of who they are. Name recognition matters. And Republicans and Democrats, when they seek to unseat somebody, right? Ted Cruz is actually up for re-election again in 2024. And the Democrats are currently running a former NFL football player against him. Why? Because they think that guy's going to have name recognition, right? Meaning that people actually know who he is, therefore he has a chance. Okay? Gerrymandering is a significant advantage. Okay? We talked about that at length already about safe seats. That is likely to show up on the test. Okay? To just show you the re-election percentages. Okay? If you run for office, you will be re-elected. Right? Like if you can actually get a job, for the most part, you will keep your job. For the most part. Okay? We are down to like 25 open seats in the House of Representatives out of 435. That means out of 435, only 25 of those seats are competitive, meaning they can flip from Republican to Democrat on any given year. That's it, like 25. Okay? Alright. We've talked about this at least once before, so hopefully a lot of this is review, right? There is reapportionment. Okay, so let's go through the actual process. Every 10 years, the United States conducts a census. They have to, constitutionally. By law, the United States has to, every 10 years, count where everybody in the Americas are. Whatever. Okay? So they conduct a census. That determines where people live. Okay? At that point, they're going to reapportion seats in the House of Representatives. I've told you multiple times now throughout this lecture, there are 435 members of the House of Representatives. 100 years ago, how many people were in the House of Representatives? 435. The same amount. The same amount. We have the same number of people in the House of Representatives. Right? You understand that 100 years ago, our population distribution was not the same as it is today, yes? Plus, just so you understand, 100 years ago, how many states were there? 48. Hawaii and Alaska were not states 100 years ago. Okay? That means we had 435 representatives for 48 states. Now we have 435 representatives for 50 states. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Okay? One, that's probably bad. We are now to the point where a single representative represents nearly roughly 750,000 people. Right? 750,000 people. You think Troy Nehls can do a good job of representing 750,000 people? Probably not. Right? So, let's say we tried to make that a little bit more feasible and we cut it by a third, right? Or we cut it into thirds, right? And now you only had to represent 250,000 people instead of 750,000. Okay? That means the House of Representatives would go from 435 to 1305. 1,305 members in the House of Representatives. Okay? To help put this into perspective for you, if every member of the House of Representatives wanted to speak about a specific piece of legislation and they were allotted 5 minutes of time, how long would it take them to debate that one bill? Right? 5 minutes times 435 members, okay, would come out to 2,175 minutes. Divide that by 60 minutes in an hour, you're talking about 36 hours. Okay? Considering Congress works about 12 hours a day, that's still 3 days. 3 days to talk about one law. One for 5 minutes. Okay? If we tripled that, like if we tripled the number of people in to try to decrease representation, we would slow things down in the House of Representatives even more. Okay? So there's not a good solution to any of this. Do you understand? Alright? Once we reapportion, then we also have to redistrict. Okay? And so if you look at my little map up here, I think we've already talked about this. Texas has 40 electoral college votes. That means we have 38 seats in the House of Representatives, and I believe there's a little +2 next to there, right, Zoe? Yes, that +2 means that in the 2020 census, the state of Texas picked up 2 additional seats, right? One came out of California, one came out of, doesn't Michigan have a -1? New York has a -1, Pennsylvania has a -1, West Virginia got a -1. Right? As people migrate throughout the United States, we reapportion, then we have to redistrict, and we definitely have to redistrict in those states that actually change the number of districts that they have. Okay? That was the projections. And I love this. They actually thought Texas was going to pick up 3 seats. They didn't. They only picked up 2. Right? And then there's the actual change, right? And so if you notice from the actual change, based on how they had voted in the past, right, the Republicans theoretically pick up a vote, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, sorry, they pick up 5, they lost 2, so they're going to pick up 3, right? But one of the things that you should notice, and hopefully you learned in like a U.S. history class, nobody lives up here. Nobody wants to live up here anymore. It sucks up there, right? People are moving south. It's too cold. No disrespect to the cold, but it's cold there. If you've ever like dug your car out in the snow like by hand, you don't ever want to have to do that again. There's like snow blowers that are like the size of like lawnmower, like push lawnmowers, right? But like my dad didn't let me have that when I was a kid. I did it with a shovel.
Yeah, we have a snow shovel in our garage.
Freezing to death.
That's like abuse.
No, it's not. It's just hard work. It was like 16 degrees in West Virginia. I was allowed to wear gloves. Okay. All right, organization within Congress. We do need to talk about this. I need you to understand. So we've already talked about political parties. We know that parties have a national party, state party, local party, right? There's going to be pyramid or a sort of scale of structure or organization within Congress as well, right? So at the highest level, that's the parties, right? We have 2 parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, okay? Then there are other like aspects of Congress as well. So both the House and the Senate have committees. We'll get to that. Every congressman has staff. We'll get to that. There are caucuses that exist within Congress. Do we know what a caucus is? It's a group of people, right, that come together uniformly in order to deal with something. So for instance, there's like the Hispanic caucus in Texas. Okay? Or sorry, not in Texas, in Congress. The Hispanic caucus. Can Troy Nehls be in the Hispanic caucus? No, he's a white guy, right? Listen to me, it doesn't matter. It actually does not matter if the majority of your constituents are that group, you still can't do it. It's very demographic in that regard. Like if you are not African American, you can't be in the Black Caucus. Like period. It doesn't matter if your entire district is African American. It ain't happening. Okay? Party leadership as far as Congress goes. Okay? Here's what I need you to understand. Number 1 is Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House is the singularly most important person in all of Congress. Okay? They are the singularly most important person in all of Congress because the House of Representatives has significantly more rules than the Senate. Okay? And that shouldn't surprise you because the House of Representatives has 435 people. The Senate only has 100. In order to get through things, you'd have to put a lot more stipulations and rules in place for 435 people than you would for 100. Okay? So the Speaker is the party leader. Okay? They are the member of the majority party. Now, theoretically, you could elect a Speaker that is a member of the minority party, but that's not happening. If you've paid attention to what's been going on in Congress in the last year, right, the Republicans took over the House of Representatives last January. They elected a speaker. That dude's name was Mike McCarthy, right? McCarthy lasted like 9 months, and then like 6 people were like, hey, you suck, you're not doing your job right, we want to get rid of you. And then the Republicans went like a month without a speaker because they couldn't figure out who to vote in. Okay? All the while, every time they had votes, all of the Democrats voted for their guy, but they're a minority, so they never got the majority in order to make him speaker. Okay? But the Speaker of the House is really, really important because they're the ones who determine the fate of all sorts of legislation, but they're also the one who helps determine committee membership, right? And committee membership is really, really important. If you want to be a successful congressman, right, you need to get on the right committees. Okay? If you get buried into committees that nobody cares about, that don't have any, like, interest in the world, you're not going to increase your own profile and make yourself look better and then do whatever, all right? Underneath the Speaker of the House, there is somebody called the Majority Leader, okay? They are second in command. The Majority Leader in the House of Representatives isn't necessarily that important, okay? The Minority Leader in the House of Representatives is important. They are the head of the opposition party. Then both parties have what are called whips, okay? Exactly what it sounds like. They are the people that metaphorically beat you into submission. Metaphorically. But it is their job to go around and ensure that if you are the Republican whip, you make sure every Republican is in line, and if they are not, you metaphorically beat them into submission. Listen to me. Don't cross your party in Congress. You cross your party in Congress, they will get rid of you. Liz Cheney is no longer allowed to be a Republican. Like the party said, you are not welcome. Alright? The Senate, okay, first, the Senate has, I'm gonna get through this. I should be able to get through this in a minute, so pay attention and we'll stop. Okay? The Senate has a president pro tem. That is a ceremonial position. The person that is actually in charge of the Senate, that is supposed to preside over the day-to-day operations, is the Vice President. The Vice President doesn't do that job. Okay, the President pro tem does it. They are just the person who's been there the longest. Okay, the Majority Leader of the Senate is the one who wields all the power. They also get to speak first on everything. The Minority Leader in the Senate is the person that leads the opposition party. And then both parties have whips in there as well. I'd get through it. Y'all go. God, go, read. That you're already done with?